Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 113 of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Today, we are back on another crew chat. It's been a couple months. We had last month when we were supposed to do a crew chat. Preston was doing some serious things, which I think maybe he can talk about here in a second. Maybe he already has. But Amanda stepped in and had that awesome sponsor spotlight with Hewitt and TeamBuildr. So excited today to have the crew back together. And before we get to kind of our discussion, let's go through our sponsors, which we've already mentioned, TeamBuildr, but they are the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate reports, and even train athletes remotely, which is really important right now and heading into the winter of COVID. Right now, if you sign up with code BigTime, you will receive a free programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets or workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. Automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. Always excited to have those guys as our sponsor. They obviously do a tremendous job. If you have not checked out Amanda's show with Hewitt, please do. I think it was episode maybe 110. He does a fantastic job. Great listen there. Our second sponsor is Powerlift. They are the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic performance centers around the world. They bring over 20 years of experience to the strength conditioning sector. All products are manufactured in their state-of-the-art facility in Jefferson, Iowa. They are proud to support all the coaches making it the big time where they are at. As always, thank you to TeamBuildr and Powerlift for the sponsor of the show and the support. Two great companies that are supporting what we do is pretty great. So. All right, we want to get into the crew chat. Preston has some athletes to train here in a little bit, so we want to get after it and make sure he has time to do that. But I guess first, let's go around the horn. Start with Preston and Amanda. Like, just what have you guys been up to recently?
Hey,
You want to get the news, Preston?
So I guess I was skipping out on shows because we had a second baby. His name is Nash, and Nash is he's a cool little dude. He might be your prototypical or your typical baby. He's doing a great job of eating, sleeping, and crying, and every once in a while he smiles and coos and has it wrapped around his fingers. So he's a ton of fun. But I think maybe the cooler part is to see our older one, Jace. He's 2 now. Just see him interact with him, and that's awfully sweet. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Between that, COVID, hybrid schedule at school, and just trying to stay afloat in those ways and try to be a husband and father at home. I feel like the plate's really full right now, and I'm sure there's so many strength coaches across the nation that feel that same type of weight. We were talking before the show, and man, I just excited to have this show because these two people on here, they encourage, they're impactful to me, and I love just having conversations with them because I come out refreshed. So looking forward to the rest of the show.
Yes, that's a good point. I hope that would be the goal at the end of this show, is strength coaches feel maybe just a little bit refreshed or can identify a little bit with what we all have going on. So, well, on our end, we've been busy. We've been strength and conditioning's definitely been a full-time job. You know, our school has actually been all in, which a lot of schools in our state haven't been. And so with the number restrictions in the room, I mean, it's kind of been a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. type of job lately, which has been a little bit tough as far as our family, but I've really enjoyed the extra contact and just kind of tried to end the day grateful that I get to be with the athletes, which I know a lot of coaches aren't right now. So it's kind of been, okay, how long can we tolerate it? And, you know, we can keep going. So we're finishing up our fall season right now, and it looks like we made it through swimming. We're going to make it through volleyball so far. We have 1 more week, and our football team has 2 more weeks. So we will see if we can get through and start up our winter sports a little bit anyways in December.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck to you guys as you keep pushing on. That's great. Here we're Jewel, we're starting to have a little bit more COVID issues. we were planning on not coming back after Thanksgiving anyway, so we only have about a week left of most sports. But we're feeling COVID just like anybody else would. And for myself and my family, we're actually in quarantine, day 3 of 14. So we got a ways to go, but it's fine. We're getting some quality time with the kids too, which is great. But we'll get into a lot more COVID stuff, I think, as we go. But I want to get right into it, I guess. And I think I'll let Preston go first. What do you have, Preston? Question to put on the table.
Hey, so my question for you guys, and then for anybody that wants to reach out to the show, is what are you doing for everything outside the weight room? What I mean by that is your warm-ups, your speed, your agility, your recovery, just anything that you're programming outside of the weight room, or like just isn't going to directly impact your sets, reps, scheme inside the 4 walls of your room. So what does that look like for you guys? And maybe with the lens of how you're doing that with the adjusted schedules and different things during COVID.
Okay, I'll go first on this one. I'd say warm-up wise and our speed and agility, we've had to turn that into a key part of our strength and conditioning program. With the number of restrictions, we'll have to have half of the group that is outside warming up and doing speed and agility, and then half of the group will be in the weight room, and then we kind of file them out. So, and a warm-up used to look like a full gym with a whole bunch of people, right, doing a dynamic warm-up, and it doesn't look that way anymore. So we've really moved our dynamic type of warm-ups to the weight room and focused a lot more on mobility. So maybe doing a lot of hip bridge stuff at the beginning, doing a lot of tennis ball, lacrosse ball, pressure work at the beginning, I'd say. And then speed and agility, I can't say enough. I know he sponsored our show, but it's been a godsend. Our program is Evan Sports Performance. So his stuff we're doing it exactly actually right now. And it's 7 weeks and it's perfect. It's about 10 to 15 minutes every day. So really been enjoying that. And it's I'm learning a lot of stuff related to speed work and the form, and it's made me a better coach, definitely. So that's been big. And then I'd say recovery, or kind of a philosophy that we've moved, and we've talked before about this. At the end of the weight room, back in the day, I used to feel success when students would leave like sweaty, tired, and like, whew, right? And that kind of, in my mind, was success. Now, I try and focus on how can I leave them refreshed. So we might do some stuff, more at the end, maybe related to mental toughness instead of just wearing them out. So we've really brought in a lot of recovery. So some, breathing, a lot of breathing stuff, a lot of relaxation sometimes. We did that with our football team just the other day, and just taking a little bit of time, stretching, band work. So I'd say back in the day, I used to spend about 5% of a workout on speed, agility, and recovery, and now I spend about 50%. So those are some key things for us. How about you guys?
So I think I'll try to answer this maybe in 2 parts, like pre-COVID and COVID, I guess. But like pre-COVID, about a year and a half ago, I really shifted. My first couple of years at Jewel, we were all about, 90% of the stuff we worried about was just the weight room itself. And then kind of made a shift to really push out towards more speed agility work, making that a key factor within every session. So we would do like different sprint chase drills at least once a week, different types of vert work and stuff like that. But then we did a lot of the agility work, like Corey Van Wyck's agility, chase, box, mirrors, those type of things. I really, really enjoyed that. We probably spend like a 10-minute on a dynamic warm-up, movement prep, that type of stuff, or whatever we're going to do into the weight room, but then spend another 10, 15 minutes on whatever the focus was for that day. Because I think we follow the tiers, like on Monday, the total body day, we do our sprint work. And they're 10 to 20 yard sprints, but we would do chases, we would do reactive starts. We got a lot of good result out of that, and a lot of good feedback from our sport coaches. They're like, man, our athletes are just a step quicker from all that, which we're really, really happy about that. And then I think on our Wednesdays, we would do a lot of the agility stuff. Actually, it might have been the Friday. Doesn't matter. A lot of the agility work where we start just like kind of your classic one-on-one mirror drill. And then we turn that into like a box drill, one-on-one mirror, and then like a chase, and then turn it on to like a full-on game of tag, basically, by 6, 7, 8 weeks in, which I loved. You got to see a lot of interesting things. The athletes that might be really good in the weight room, but struggle in that space concept. And the athletes liked it. God forbid they have a little bit of fun at the college level. It's not, so some athletes, coaches kind of push back on it. They want it to be just, the classic go in there and bang weights and move on. But I really enjoyed that. So pre-COVID, that's kind of where we were moving to. But this year's been challenging this semester because of how we've had to set things up. In order for me to get athletes through our weight room, we were so dictated by the class schedules and practice schedules, obviously, that we were so on the clock. So we knew we had 20, 25 minutes for our first part and then 25 minutes for our next part. 2 different weight rooms, essentially. So our warm-up was very boring. And I tell my staff, listen, I don't know what it is about the warm-up, but I really struggle to keep things different. The warm-up, for whatever reason, is something I always go back to the same thing I always done. I don't know what it is. And my old GA, Miles, who's been on the show like 7 times, I would tell him that. And he's like, you know what? You make so many decisions that there's some research out there that some people can only make so many decisions in a day. So I kind of get it on my staff a little bit. Hey, mix up the warm-ups as much as you want. We always just do kind of a typical dynamic. But then we try to mix in some speed stuff. We were still confined by space. We weren't able to do any agility stuff. And they were so confined on time as well that we aren't really able to do a whole lot of recovery stuff, which was challenging. And we saw some injuries. A lot of hamstring issues this year. And one piece that just work with our athletic trainers is like, we were able to do essentially everything we've always done, but the recovery side. We used to do a lot of belly breathing, a lot of rollouts, a lot of band stretching, a lot of stuff like that. And I don't want to get clear into it, but just based off how our schedule fit, we weren't able to fit that in this year, which was a little bit of a step back for us. But that's kind of my pre-COVID thoughts to that question, Preston.
Do you think 5 years ago, would you ever imagine you'd be able to get a group in 25 minutes?
No,
like we have now?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So the reason why I asked that question, and this has truly been my quest for the last, probably since you had Corey on, episode like 6 or something, like just trying to dive more into what's agility look like. Okay, now that we see agility should not look like this, what should everything else look like? And I think his name's Mike Richardson. No, not Mike Richardson. He's the sponsor. The guy that has R7. What's his name?
Mike Robertson.
Mike Robertson. There we go. Mike Robertson going through his R7 stuff and just like breaking down everything that should go into a training session. And I'm like, you know what? I am not, doing justice in each one of these spots in the way that I can. When we're only allotted a certain amount of time, I totally understand you gotta give the most bang for your buck. But I was looking at maybe just my warm up. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm getting the most bang for my buck. And then you get to this COVID time where things are all just constrained even more. It's like, what really, really, really matters? Okay. And when we look at that, for me, Gage, it's going to be different. And, me and Amanda will be different than you are because our athletes are at a different spot, right? Like, to me, I know there's so much to speed. I know there's so much to agility, but there still has to be a strength base for a high school athlete, right? Like, regardless of where you're at, and I know, like, movement coaches will be like, hey, whoa, stop. Movement's king, right? I get it, and I agree, and all of that. But all my athletes are multi-sport athletes. They're getting all sorts of movements all the time. Okay, we have such an active community at my school, and I think it's awesome. So I think in my role, what I can do is help facilitate the strength building thing so that they can continue to grow with what they're doing on the court, the mat, the track, the field. I mean, our athletes are doing everything all the time. I love it. Okay? On top of that, they're great at theater and speech too. So just come out and check out Mount Vernon sometime. We're doing stuff again. But I'm telling you, like, we have active students. So what is that most bang for your buck? And I like what Amanda was saying, right? Where our focus has changed a little bit of where we should be at, but there's still so much important in the weight room, and you got to figure out what that looks like to be successful. So talked a little bit there on my own question, but that's why I was diving deep into it. Amanda, what's your question for us?
My question, I think, we talked about the COVID, and, I'm always thinking about coaches and well-being. So I think it's important to talk about right now, what does it take to be a strength and conditioning coach during our times right now? What do you think it takes in order to be successful, to maybe not get burnout, to be able to work with your coaches, to be able to work with your athletes right now?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I think it just highlights, a lot of coaches have said this, but strength coaches should be like the most adaptable people in your athletic department. And I think that's just even more important now, because just give a little brief or a little look into like our situation now, where we have, we have probably four teams that are completely shut down. They all come back in at certain times. One team was getting ready to set up for like their big, if you want to call it a test out, it's not really a test out, like big, like peak week of their off season, and then they got shut down. For example, I'm not going to see my athletes until January again.
Wow.
Like our football team, for example, I'll see maybe our in-season sports into the winter. But like football, they got shut down 2 weeks ago, and I'm not going to see them again until January, like 18th. So the ability, I guess, to be adaptable from a programming standpoint because then I just think about just the COVID situation going into the winter. You're going to send all these kids back home to different spots, where some kids might be able to get into their gym. Some kids, they may go. I just saw Chicago, I think yesterday, is down onto a shutdown order again.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be more and more of that popping up, where kids are going to go back into a body weight only program. And where you have half the team that maybe can go to a gym. And then I was going to try to split them up by, our freshmen still need this, our older guys are strong enough, they need this type thing. And then that adds another layer of complexity to it. So just the ability to, I guess, adapt, solve problems is a huge factor in that. But I think also, and I'll be pretty transparent, this has been a really rough semester on me, more than usual. I'm kind of feeling that burnout a little bit more. And I think it's just because for me, it's frustrating. One thing, and not to go on a rant, but we have to set all these protocols for our kids. And I think, and also our college athletes, they live on campus. They have to be in these COVID protocols all the time when they live on campus, which I can't imagine, because I get to go home and take my mask off and be with my kids and then do it the next day. These kids are in it all the time. But what's frustrating is, we've spent all this time making these like very detailed COVID protocols that they are adhering to in the 50 minutes they're with us. Then I go outside right after the lift and they all have their masks off. They're all piled into a Ford Focus, 7 of them on top of each other. And it's like, what are we doing here? So that has been really frustrating. But I think as strength coaches, we can't use that as an excuse to not do what we're supposed to be doing, be negligent, not protect our kids, provide a safe environment. I think are extremely important during this time. But I think being adaptable, I think trying to keep your spirits up is an important thing. So reaching out to other coaches, talking to people, not trying to be the hero, not trying to be Mr. Tough strength coach who all you do is lift weights and have no feelings. I think that's is where coaches can really get in trouble during this period right now, personally. But Preston, what do you think?
Recently, you guys would probably make fun of me, okay? It's probably an educational thing, but I had to look up the meaning of platitudes and what that was, and then I had to look up I was just on this thing of like, I want to be authentic. Jake Niederman is putting out a ton of stuff on Twitter where it's authenticity, right? So with my response, I want you guys to know that this is who I try to be regardless, all right? But this is what's going through my head when I hear this is like, in everything that a strength coach does, we are always telling our athletes to that we're going to not rise to the occasion, but sink to the level of our training, right? Or we're saying that when adversity hits, how are you going to respond, and all this type of stuff. And then eventually we get to this point where adversity is hitting, and it's hitting for a long time, and it's super hard. And then, like, you know, my only thought process right now is, man, if I shirk responsibility, or if I don't do the job that I'm supposed to do, or whatever, literally everything I've said is thrown out the window, right? So then you get this idea of, like, one of the sayings that we have is fact and non-verbal. So actions speak louder than words, or actions, not words. And you know, like, if I am going down the wrong path right now, what can I expect my student athletes to do, right? Because, man, they're the ones that are really in it. Like, I'm doing my job and all that type of stuff, but they're the ones that are still trying to learn. They're the ones that have to deal with all this stuff that is life altering for them, you know, like, so that's one of the things I think about, and how I've gained clarity or whatever through this is, like, just focusing on what's my purpose, right? Like, if you could just ask your question to yourself right now, like any coach that's listening to this, if you ask the question, what's my purpose, right? Maybe it's, and do it in relation to your job. What is my purpose? What if all I had was, I mean, whatever your class period length is, if that's all I had with the students that I have, you know, during this COVID time, what do I want them to walk away with? What is my purpose? How am I going to impact? And I think that totally flips everything on its head. Now it becomes a game, right? So, Gage, this is a quote that you use all the time. It's, do what you can with what you have where you are. And I think that's Ben Franklin or something like that. But you use that as part of your big time strength motto, and the way that you run your culture at William Jewell. I see it all over your stuff. And it's like, when we have to do what we can with what we have, where we're at, like, what we're ever asked to do, right? To do the best that we can. And my last little bit to this, and I'll stop with all this cheesy positivity, whatever you guys want to call it. It's just the way that I operate now. My son, he got this toy. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite toys. It's a little dump truck. There's a guy that sits in it, and there's some boulders, and you push the guy down in the seat, and he has, like, fill it up, or, you know, like, drop them off, or all these different things for this dump truck. But one of the things that, if you hit it enough times, and I'm gonna get worked up here because it's my son, but he loves this song. And I think it's the coolest thing in the world. It goes, if you've got a job to do, do your best. And I'm like, holy cow. And he plays it over and over and over. And I'm like, here, let me stop blabbering and recompose. Here we go. But he plays it over and over and over. And he loves it. And I'm like, all right, let's go. This is what I want. You know, I want my son to be able to take whatever and do his best. That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. And I've heard, you know, the quote, if you're a ditch digger, you be the best ditch digger there is, right? You know, whatever you do and whatever choice that you've made, you have to be the best at it. You know, well, you are, even if you're thinking that it's hard right now. And that's nice that you probably have that motto and that saying that you can kind of go back to, right? You know, having a mantra. I work with Jeremy Boone and in Leader Kit, and I'll kind of talk about that as part of it. But one of the things, Preston, talking about your purpose, you know, and he talks about your mission and, you know, purpose and mission. And when you set that mission or you set that purpose, then it makes every decision a lot easier. And right now, as strength coaches, we have to make so many decisions. And he talks about protecting the mission, right? You have to protect the mission. And so setting up boundaries and everything that we do, if we know that what our mission is, we're able to go back to that and to stay day to day, you know. So I think that's great that you can go back to it all the time. But I love that. Good. Anything on that, Gage, before I'll kind of talk about my thoughts on it as well?
No, Preston, you nailed it, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I wish you kind of would have should just cut the show right there, but we'll continue.
I know.
How much better we can do, but go for it, Amanda.
Yeah, well, actually, the first thing that I have, what it takes right now, in all honesty, is vulnerability. Like, we have to be able to say a little bit, we're struggling right now, and we have to get our inner corner of people that we can say we're struggling, because our job so often is to be the shoulders of coaches and be the adaptable ones for the coaches. So if we're able to find people, like-minded people, that we can say things are struggling right now, but we just have to do it, and that energizes us, right? We talked about us three when we get together, we're energized, ready to go for the week after that. It makes it last for one more week. So I'd say what it takes right now is all those things that it's always taken to be a strength coach, being adaptable, but it takes, being vulnerable, and it takes truly, I can't say it enough, you got to find a mentor. I work, personally, I work in Leader Kit with Jeremy Boone, and, he has Winning Leader Academy as well. But that Leader Kit time enables me to connect every 2 weeks and just reset. And it's necessary. I wouldn't be here today, I don't think, if we didn't have that, and being able to talk through stuff, and it just makes decisions so much easier. So we train ourselves so much. We go to school, we get our master's degree in strength and conditioning and periodization. We know so much about strength and conditioning, but a lot of times we put the leadership on the back burner. And I'd say the strength and conditioning as a coach has changed dramatically when I've become vulnerable, gotten a mentor, and found people in my corner with strength and conditioning. That just gets bigger and bigger every day, the more that we talk about it. So I think that's what it takes right now. It's not going to take just us being great at the X's and O's anymore. We won't make it. we really won't. We'll burn out, and we won't be there. So that's my advice right now as far as what it takes.
That's great. Both you guys nailed it. Preston, you have any further comments on that before we move on?
No, I think that I've got notes down there and some of the things that I got to improve on. So feeling good with that section.
Good. All right. So the last one, I guess I'll bring to the table. I think we've got maybe 10, 15 more minutes here. So one thing we did this semester is, again, we try to find ways to fill needs, I guess. And I think a big need, at least we felt at Jewel this semester, is all of our teams weren't competing. So as a department, we decided we try to throw together kind of a department-wide competition where every athlete can at least, not that they're going to be super excited about it like they would have on a game day, but at least give them something to really push for in the weight room, kind of foster some just department-wide competition. So we created something that's called, we call it the Iron Cardinal competition. And it stems from what we used to do at Northwest Missouri State, what they call the quad. So essentially, we decided to do 4 exercises that most of all of our teams, or 4 tests that basically we test all of our teams on. So we laid on the front squat. We do a 10-yard sprint. We got a new timing system. We do 10-yard sprints weekly. And we kind of do the rank, record, publish concept with that. The vertical jump, similar idea with that. We got a just jump mat that we do rank, record, publish essentially on that every week. And then we do the med ball throws, like a 12-pound ball for men, 6 for women, that they jump and throw it for distance. So all of our teams have always done it. We have testing data on it. So what we've done is essentially create a scale for each exercise, to where if you squat 300 pounds, you get so many points. And the goal is to get to 400 points as a kind of level 1. And then up from that is 425, and it's 450 plus. And it's been really good. Our athletes love it. They get super excited about it. At the end of every week, I post each team's like, this is your current Iron Cardinal score. This is where everybody kind of sits on that. And it's funny, just across sports, everybody's checking out other team scores and like, oh, the soccer team, they scored this, that's not great, or that's really good, or whatever it is. It's been really good to see that competition across the board. I know kind of these levels and like record boards and stuff like that. It's kind of a hot topic in strength conditioning sometimes. But I think we've done it in a way to where there's a strength factor, there's a speed factor. It's only a 10-yard sprint. So even the big guys can run a decent 10-yard sprint on the scale. You kind of got an upper body explosive and you got a vertical jump. So you got kind of a mixture of traits there where it's not all just how strong are you in the 3 lifts. It's been really good. So if anybody wants more information on that or my scales or just how I went about making the scale, because I had to adjust it quite a bit, let me know and I'll send you all my stuff. But that was something it's probably the biggest positive we've had out of this COVID era, is just kind of wrapping up that and making this, and we're going to continue it every year now. And it's been really good just to see, just to be able to compare that year after year of how essentially athletic our teams are. It's been really good. So I don't know if anybody has any further comments on that. Preston and Amanda, if you guys have something that you want to contribute along those lines.
Hey, I'll jump in here real quick. I think at Northwest Missouri State, I liked the quad. I think it was awesome. I think that the years of data that you can show and kind of say, hey, these were some of our All-Americans. These were some of the best people that we had. This is where they scored. Even, you don't have to be the biggest, strongest person. Okay, it's kind of the mixture of like, if you're a powerful person, it's a good thing. And so I like what you've done. I like the switch of what you did for the actual competitions, Gage. And as I listen to you, I want to implement it. Right now, like, I'm going to a girls basketball session right here in about 5 minutes. So, but at the end of our session, our strength training session, we will go downstairs and we're going to do a competition. On Wednesdays, when we train as a team for our, as a basketball team. So we train in class, but we also train as a basketball team. We'll do an individual competition, and then we'll rank all of those girls. And then that ranking, we will average those for their teams. So they're all on teams. We rank them individually. Then it'll go back to a team score. So then they can get an average ranking. So like this last week, the team that won was average rank 6. Okay, so that was really good. And then the team that was at the very bottom was average rank 10.8. So then doesn't matter how many kids you have, doesn't matter the scale, don't have to really make a scale. It just kind of is fluid with them. That's a way to do it. And that's how I did it at Northwest when we do our fall competition with our baseball team. And I like it. And then we pair that up. So there's 4 teams right now. If your ranking is the best or you win, you get 400 points, and then 300, then 200, then 100. Everybody gets points every time, just based on the ranking. And then today we're going to do a team competition. So it's not individual anymore. So the first one we did vertical jump, that was individual. Okay, now we're going to do a team one today, where it's going to be tug of war. So we'll go team versus team. It'll be round robin. We'll figure out who is number 1, and then we'll continue with the point totals, and just continue throughout the season until our head coach says, okay, this is where we're at. This is going to be like the last week of competitions, just so you know, and most likely it'll lead us into, maybe the last little bit of the season or into this playoff time or whatever it is. But just what he wants out of it is competitors in every way, to be a competitor. And that's kind of the purpose behind why we're doing it. And I like doing it on a team, but department-wide, like you're talking about, Gage, I think is really cool. So that's how we're doing it right now. We've implemented it in different ways. We've done it during our summer program, which is, I think, the best way for me to do it if I do something like you're doing, Gage, because then everybody that I have will be in there. Like, basically the variables are somewhat similar at that point. But yeah, I like it. Good stuff. I'll run, guys, and I know the podcast will keep on keeping on, but I'll go back and I'll listen to it to hear your guys' responses to these.
Perfect.
Thanks, see you, buddy.
Yeah. I love it. That's what we say. We're working coaches, and it's really true. We really are working coaches. Literally have to leave right now, but I think it makes for great conversation. So department-wide, our biggest competition that I've adapted is the Army Combat Fitness Test, which this year was the first year that it rolled out. So I've been studying it for the last 2 years, and I'm really lucky. I get to work a lot with the National Guard, and I have people close to me that I was able to get into this. So the new Army Combat Fitness Test, it adapts so well to strength and conditioning. And We call it the Charger Warrior Challenge. So we've done a huge competition, like on our track with announcers, everything. You could do it with, 200 people if you need to. And then we've done it as small as a classroom. And it's something we've competed against other schools. So the Army Combat Fitness Test it's a ranking of 0 to 100 points. And it is 6 exercises, or 6 events, I should say. So it's the deadlift, the medicine ball throw backwards. It is a variation of the pull-up called the leg tuck. So kind of lifting your legs to your knees while hanging on the bar. It's hand release push-ups. And then a big one, a sprint, drag, carry. So kind of dragging sleds, carrying kettlebells, and then sprinting and shuffling. And then in the military, it's a 2-mile run. And how we've adapted that is doing the pacer test. And if you've ever done the pacer test, if you get to 100 points, that's like the goal, the big one, huge. Yeah, so it has been awesome. And I've been asking people, can I come and present on this? It's so easy. The data is out there, through the military websites. The scoring is out there. And it's really easy to do, and it mimics almost everything that we do in the weight room. So you got the strength, you got the speed, agility, endurance. I love it. So we call it the Charger Warrior Challenge, but it's the Army Combat Fitness Test.
Cool. So do you guys do that at a certain time every year?
I kind of started doing it now as almost in place of the max outs. We can, with TeamBuildr, we can do max outs anytime we want now. So we'll do it as our end of the time event, or if we just need a little competition, if, like Preston said, if our basketball team gets shut down, but we're coming in the weight room, I'm going to do it with the team, and we'll compete team versus team in that. But our big event was awesome last year for the first time. And, if you're in the I guess college setting too, that the National Guard and the Army will always be willing to come out. They'll be willing to do prizes. I mean, that's what they're there for, is to get talking to kids. And it's one of the best ways. So I encourage you to use them, but that's our big one. And then I kind of have various t-shirt weeks, and it's a little bit selfish really, but for instance, this week we have the front squat and bench press, and obviously kids can bench press, but I was getting, for so long, kids would not front squat heavy, and I'm like, I want you to front squat heavy more than I want you to back squat heavy. Right. And so for years, like 225 for males was just, no, we can't do that. You can't do
Great.
that. It's hard. It hurts. So I did a t-shirt week, and for males it was 225 front squat by 5 and 135 bench by 5. Well, the guys get jacked, like they know they can do 135 bench, right? And so then we just added a t-shirt, if you got to do both, and it changed our limits with our front squat. So now these young kids are seeing kids front squat like 315, and just because of a stinking old t-shirt, I just go and chase down coaches. You got any extra t-shirts? So it's just a bunch of different ones, but that's what it has been one of the, and they put their name on the board. I think that's more important to them than getting the t-shirt, is they put their name on the board for that competition.
Well, I think it's a great point. It's just that, and we've seen it with our scale too. It's just like you put the scale up there, and like at the top end of the scale where you're getting like a bunch of points, it's like it's like a 300-pound front squat for a girl. I mean, that's huge, obviously. I mean, that's like unbelievable. And a lot of our girls were front squatting, like 155. Kind of have the same idea with the front squat. Like, I can't do that very heavy. Yeah. But then we've seen some girls like push almost up to 225. It's just like, because they just see themselves climbing up that scale. It's just that motivation side of it, which is awesome. But the t-shirts, they get people going.
They do.
Every time. It's awesome.
They do. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And important right now. Can't say it for coaches. Get them competing.
Yeah.
In some way, even if you have to do it online.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. Well, Coach, you have anything else for the show?
No, I think this has been a great episode. I think a needed episode, and I've really enjoyed it. So
Agreed. So we'll wrap it up, and I appreciate everybody listening. Again, reach out to us if you need anything, questions, comments. Really appreciate all of our support through our sponsors as well. Thanks to Coach Peterson, who had to leave off and go do his job, which you appreciate his. He had some great comments there with the COVID stuff, and really hit home for myself, and I'm sure Amanda as well. And I'm sure most people listening here. So some exciting news coming. Sorry, go for it.
One thing too about one thing I'm going to do after this, we had some great questions today, and we just shared a few things. I'm going to put it up on the Facebook group chat and kind of ask, what are you doing right now as far as warm-ups? What are you doing as far as competitions? And what are you doing to take care of yourself as a strength coach? So love to hear some feedback from other people on it.
Yeah, so if you're listening, don't just listen, get involved. Check us out on the Facebook page, and put your ideas out there too, because that's what we're doing is for everybody to learn from each other. But last thing I forgot to mention at the start is Coach Berg's last episode was a Veteran Day special, and Coach Berg is a veteran as well, so we appreciate her service. Thank you, Coach, and thank you for that great episode last time. Please check that out as well. All right, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week back on the podcast. Hope everybody has a great week. Thanks. See you, Coach.
See ya.